Hey everybody, it's your boy Big D from Old Man White Belt, and this is a non-jiu-jitsu related entry. I just picked up some of my favorite vape fluid at that place right there, Better Vapes. I'm a vapor. I get something called Crispy Berries, used to be called Crunch Berries. My very first all-day vape ever. Love it, love it, love it. Big, huge bottle. Full up with my brand new coil. Getting ready to start vaping again. And now I'm about to head back to Jacksonville so I can go to jiu-jitsu. See you there. Hey, this is Derek. This is Old Man White Belt, my continuing video blog about my return to jiu-jitsu. And this is where I do my jiu-jitsu. Gracie Academy, Jacksonville, Illinois. Gracie Jiu-Jitsu, CTC, Jacksonville, Illinois. And there's some of the other dudes who also do jiu-jitsu who have a lot more knowledge than me. Thank God for them, because they keep me on my toes, make sure I'm accountable, being a good student, good training partner. See you guys later. Bye. Hi, my name is Derek, and this is Old Man White Belt, my continuing video blog about my re-entry into the world of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And where are we? It is week 3, Wednesday night, so I've had 3 classes this week, and here's what I've seen. Here's what I've observed from myself. First of all, I've noticed that I'm starting to get some core strength, and I think that's from, I haven't been doing anything specific for that other than going to jiu-jitsu. And since there's a lot of using hips and legs, a lot of times where you have to make sure that you close the distance between you and the guy that is the bad guy. So sometimes you have to use your core in order to lean into somebody and get your face really, really close so they can't punch you in the head. So I've noticed just tonight that I'm starting to have some increase in the strength of my core, which, that's a win. I'm happy with that. Seriously. And this part of the journey as an old man with a white belt isn't about promotion. It's not about worrying about what stripe I get and when or if. It's about all these little victories that I'm having, losing 6 pounds. That's a victory. That's a small thing that doesn't involve anybody else, doesn't show up on any attendance card at the academy, or, it's not something that can be measured with a belt promotion. But for me, losing 6 pounds is quantifiable evidence that I am making positive progress. I'm also seeing an increase in my cardiovascular fitness. Week number 1, I was able to do about 2 reps of whatever we were doing, stand up or on the ground, and I was gassed. I was out of breath. Week 2, maybe 6, 8 reps, and then I was out of wind. Done. Week 3, pretty good, pretty solid all the way through every single class until rolling happens. Like, there'd been a couple times in week 3 where we've had the opportunity to sort of do free rolling within a limited scope. There were things that we were supposed to be practicing and we were supposed to be working on, goals that we were supposed to be achieving, passing a guard, doing sweeps, not really looking for subs, but just going back and forth, trying to maintain position against the guy that you were rolling with, and he's trying to advance his position at the same time. So I was good all the way through class stuff, and then once it actually went live and I started rolling around the floor with other people that were there, that's when I started getting tired. But I still see that as an improvement because for the most part I've been able to complete every class without having to worry about telling somebody, no, I can't do another rep, I'm out of wind. I've been able to pretty much do reps until my partner was ready to be done, because right now if you offer one more rep, I'm going to take it. If you are willing to do one more rep, I'm going to ask you. If you don't say no, we're going to do one more rep and one more rep and one, because I'm not here to dick around. I'm not here to make this like a fitness kind of thing. I mean, I'm treating this intellectually like I would be if I was taking an extra graduate level course, you know. I'm studying and I'm trying to immerse myself in the knowledge, and I'm trying to have as much attendance as possible, just simply because jiu-jitsu, it's a process. First of all, you got to gain the knowledge. And then once you have the knowledge, you've got to develop this reflexive behavior that applies the knowledge. And then once you start building up that reflexive behavior to apply the knowledge, then you start getting into the upper belts and you get into these little nuances and all these intricacies of jiu-jitsu, and you even start to personify your own game. You know, you start really figuring out who you are as a jiu-jitsu player at those higher belt levels. I don't even know where I was going with this, but it's a huge process, and it's not something that can be done in a short period of time. It's something that's probably going to take me, at my age, as long as I maintain a healthy diet and try to do the right things with my physical fitness, you know, and I live long enough, it's theoretically possible I could do a black belt by the time I'm, you know, a little old guy, which would be cool. I mean, if I was 75 years old and I was a black belt, and I could inspire somebody else to do something cool regardless of age, that's good karma. I'm cool with that, you know. I'm cool with that. But my point is that that's like 25 years plus. So that's the kind of longevity that you need in this game, in this sport, in this art of self-defense, in order to really become somebody who can apply it in a masterful way or an expert way. Getting a black belt isn't something that you can plan on doing in a 5-year process, no matter how many times you go to class. It's just not feasible, realistic to think that you're going to be able to get it done that quickly. So, big picture is it's a much, much longer process, and it's not one I want to focus on. I just want to kind of let that part happen as I roll along with these little victories, these little things that I can count, that mean something to me, that shows that my jiu-jitsu journey is benefiting me in a positive way. You know, it's about those things, and it's not about what my belt rank is at all. In fact, I would probably be fine with it if we went and we didn't wear belts, and, you know, you got promoted on paper or something. I mean, Bruce Lee said one time, the only good use for a belt is to hold up your pants. And I agree with that, and I disagree with that. I think having rank and knowing where you're at in your development, I think that is hugely important. And jiu-jitsu uses belts to measure that evolution, and that's fine. All I'm saying is that my benefits exceed promotion. The things that I'm experiencing and the changes that I'm getting are positive benefits to me that have nothing to do with what rank I'm at. And those are more important to me right now. I was getting to the point where I was worried about whether or not I was going to be around to see my kid to 18 or so, and now maybe I will. Maybe. I hope. But regardless, it seems like to me that it's been a really effective therapy for PTSD. I talked about this at the beginning when I did my what and why video. I'll be more specific, actually. I'll tell you guys the story. This is like summer of 96. I was going to work. I worked 11:30 to 8 a.m. shift, and we had a roll call in this building that was in a parking garage, like a 5-story parking garage, lots of concrete. I walked out, and I got about 50 feet away, heading to a car, and there were gunshots. And in that parking structure, with all that concrete and all that space, the sound just reverberated. It sounded like cannons going off. And the first thing I did was I hit the ground, took cover. There wasn't any cover. I just I tried to get in a crack in the concrete. And then when the first few shots stopped, I got up and I moved. I exited the parking garage and crossed the street. There was a street. The parking garage was on a corner of a 90-degree intersection, perpendicular. And so when I came out, I went across the street that was closest to me. There was a sidewalk over there and a tree. And the gunfire that originally had happened would have been to my right. So as I crossed the street, I was scanning for activity, trying to figure out where the shots were coming from, who was firing them. And I saw a car come through the intersection. It was a four-way stop, and he was coming at me from the street that I had just crossed, but he was on the opposite side of the intersection while I was crossing. He was at the stop. So as he comes up the street, which is about half a block to my position, I was looking in the car. I was looking in the window as he came right up to me. And he gets about, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 feet in front of me, in front of my position, was where the passenger side window was when he spotted me. He saw that I was there beside that tree. And I didn't know at the time that he had anything to do with anything. He could have been just a guy who happened to be at the wrong place at the wrong time, driving through the middle of a shooting scene. Not his fault. So at this point, I don't have any reason to believe that he's a threat. But he was. He is parallel with me. And he raised a black Beretta 92, which is a 9mm. I can't remember what model he ended up having, but I remember seeing it. I remember seeing the gun very distinctly, and I knew that model of gun. I knew what it was, so it's really, really a crisp detail in my mind. And at that time, this is right around the same time that there were bans on magazines that had more than a certain number of rounds. I can't remember what it was, but this was a weapon that was pre-ban, when you could still get 15-round clips. So he gets parallel with me. He slows down. He puts the weapon up to the window, and at this point he's about 8 feet away, by my guess, from where I'm standing, and he's slowed significantly. Now I know I'm screwed, because I didn't recognize the guy as a threat. I didn't assume that he was a threat, and he's got the jump on me. I'm fucked. And then he just started, fast as he could pull the trigger with one of those Berettas. They were double action on the first shot, and then after that single action, so you could rip through whole magazine rounds really quick. But in the dark at nighttime, muzzle flashes are really bright. So that was another detail I remember. Muzzle flash, muzzle flash, muzzle flash. And no hits. No hits. I don't know what the problem was, just too much gangster style shooting to actually shoot straight, or my lucky night, or a lot of people say God was pushing the bullets to the side, or some bullshit like that, I mean, I don't believe that God reaches his hand down and physically changes things like that. Regardless, that's what happened. And then he took off, going the same direction, sped forward. And at the time, there were two different guys who were involved in this. One of the guys was on foot. They were trying to kill a third party. And this poor bastard, he gets brought to the location by somebody that he thinks is a friend of his. Gets to the location, and his buddy reaches across, opens the passenger side door, and shoves him out, and then drives away. And then at that moment, the plan is that there's going to be a shooter in the car and a shooter on foot, and they're going to have him in a crossfire, and they're going to kill this dude. Didn't work out like that, because they were stupid enough to choose a time when there would be 2 full shifts of officers right there. The roll call was going on 50 yards away from where they were planning a murder. How dumb is that? So anyway, genius number 1 on foot. After dude in the car goes by, I decided that genius number 1 needs to get some pursuit action going on. Even at that time, I wasn't particularly quick. I wasn't fleet of foot necessarily. I wasn't big guy Jerome Bettis type of fleet of foot. But he's out there, and he's where I work, and he's shooting at people. So I take off after this dude, and we go up half a block at the intersection. I turn right, go up half a block, and turn left. He runs down an alley. And he gets like 3 blocks in front of me, and I realized I could still see him running, but I realized there's no way I'm catching this dude. He's pulling away. You know, he's Jesse Owens, and I'm those white German guys that lost. But I figured this is a waste of energy, you know? I mean, good luck, bro. You know, maybe somebody else will catch you on the other end, but it's not going to be me. So I turn around, and I start walking back down the alley towards the intersection. I get to the opening in the alley, and I see a car go by. And it looks familiar. Asshole number 2 has swung around and come back to view the scene as if he's just some Joe Schmo who's gawking to see what's going on. He didn't figure on me walking out of that alley at the same time that he pulled around. And so I saw him pass the alley, so I went down to the intersection where he's got to stop at the stop sign, and he did. And so I came up the back of the car with my weapon drawn, had him put it in park, and then we did the whole, you know, out the window with your hands stuff and felony stop kind of a thing. He had ditched the gun by then, but what he didn't do was he didn't clean out the shell casings that had ejected into his car. And so we found shell casings in the floorboard, and might have been 30 minutes before this guy started squealing on all of his buddies and told the whole thing. So there was justice at the end, I suppose. And asshole number 3 also happened to be a bad guy that they were trying to kill, but he survived. He got really lucky. There was an officer with a bulletproof vest that jumped on the dude in the middle of the intersection. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, I have put myself out there for people before, and I've saved 1 or 2, but what happened that night, the officer jumped on that dude with a bulletproof vest. That's not me. Nope. Not gonna happen. And that's probably why that dude is alive, honestly. I should probably tell you about a time I saved somebody, since I mentioned it. I got a call one day. It was late afternoon. A guy walking down the middle of the road. Normally, when you get a call like that, you're going to get there and it's somebody that's under the influence of something. It could be anything from alcohol to PCP. So I didn't know what to expect, but when I got there, there was a whole line of cars that were just moving really super slow. And I could see the dude walking in front of the first car. 3 cars between me and dude. So I turn on my lights, I get out of the car, I go all the way around, and I get around the first car when I notice he's got a white cane, blind guy, and he's in the street. And I ascertained pretty quickly that he had no idea where his location was. You know, he's walking in the roadway with cars behind him, completely out of position. I know some fully blind dudes who can navigate like the city of Chicago and with no problem whatsoever. But this dude just got his radar off a little bit, and he was probably about 6 feet to the left of where he thought he was. And he's heading towards West End Avenue in Nashville, which is 6 lanes across, plus turn lanes in the middle, 45 miles per hour, and traffic probably speeding most of the time. And by the time I got to the 3rd car, he was on it. He was stepping off into West End Avenue in afternoon traffic. People going 40, 45 miles per hour. And several of them going 50 probably. He was about to be roadkill. And as I came around the third car, I grabbed him by the back of his shirt. I got a hold of the back of his shirt as he was stepping out into the road, and I managed to pull him back gently enough that it didn't startle him. It wasn't my intention to scare him, and I certainly, he really had no idea the danger that he was facing. So I simply told him, "Sir, you don't realize where you're at. You're out of position a little bit." And I helped him back to the sidewalk, explained to him where he was, the direction that he was going in, everything. We got his bearings back, and he was cool. Two things about that: 30 seconds, 10 seconds, 5 seconds later, that guy's dead meat on West End Avenue. Done. He is somebody's hood ornament. And there were 3 cars behind him, between me and him, and not one of those drivers got out to help this dude. How do you do that? How do you walk behind a blind dude going down the road in the middle of the goddamn roadway, and you don't stop your vehicle and help him back to the sidewalk? Even when you can see where he's headed to, pretty much certain death. I mean, if a car going down West End Avenue hit you and you were totally unaware that you were stepping off into traffic, I don't know that you lived through that. Even being a couple blocks from Vanderbilt University Medical Center, you're probably fucked. So, I was really disappointed in humanity that day. Nobody stepped up. Nobody did anything. They were going to watch him die. 3 drivers. Right behind dude. For longer than I'd been there. And I'm telling you, it was within 5 seconds, one way or the other, him living or him dying. If I hadn't got a hold of the back of his shirt the way I did, I would have been cleaning up the mess. That's what would have been happening. So, that was one of the times that I saved somebody from dying. I don't know how I feel about that. Should make me feel some measure of pride, but I was just doing what I was supposed to be doing. Anyway, that's the whole story, plus an extra bit. As usual, this video is mostly for my benefit to review later on, but if there's anybody out there who's suffering from PTSD, who's suffering from anxiety related to PTSD, I get it. And don't let that be the defining and definitive end of your life. Find a way to get out there and get some help. So, while this video is mostly for me and for my benefit to review later, to remember where I'm at in my journey and appreciate where I get to in my journey, it's also for anybody else out there who suffers from PTSD or anxiety related to PTSD, who could use some inspiration. If I can be that, that's a good karma thing, and I'm all about it. I wish you guys the best. Thanks for checking in on me again. I wish all of you good karma, even if you don't suffer from PTSD. I hope that you have something good happen to you today or in the near future. I hope that you guys get some good karma blessings from me to you. And I wish you peace. Good night.